Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the flight sim world. This is Viperstrike 95. Good to see you guys here and I hope you guys have a great weekend so far. It's Sunday, everyone. So I hope we're doing well. We're back with our stream for day 19 of our around the world trip. And today we're ready to head inside to one of the world's largest countries and probably the crown jewel of all the South American countries. That's right. We're going to be entering the country of Brazil today, and we got two pretty cool little flights we're going to be doing today. Um, the first flight will be going from Paramaribo at Sierra Mike Julia Papa. It will head southeast towards one of the mouths of the Amazon River, the city of Macapa, located in the state of Amapa. Then afterwards, we'll be going on into the heart of the Amazon rainforest at Santarém, one of the oldest cities in the Brazilian Amazon. So we got some pretty cool flights, and this flight will be to prepare us for next Friday's trip over into the mouth of the Amazon rainforest. We got to check out a GA exploration of the Amazon River. How cool would that be, guys? We can finally explore some of the GA stuff in Brazil. So I hope you're all doing well. I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. We have Super Typhon, good to see you. And I want to say also hello to all the lurkers and the people in the chat. Good to see you guys too. So of course we're taking the 737-800 today, but we're going to actually take the cargo version today since we're going to have to haul some supplies over to the Brazilian Amazon. We're going to have to haul in some people here as well. Let's go ahead and get this checklist marked. This flight will take us 1 hour and 14 minutes. So we'll just get this plane started. Go ahead and position. Okay. So afterwards, I'm going to check my sim brief. So after doing some of that, I'll check the sim brief, and then we'll get our settings going. That. Okay. Get all that set. Set those wrong. We're going to go ahead and set up to 37,000 feet. And our landing altitude is going to be see the 37,000 feet. Okay. Feet. Let's go ahead and get forward then. We're going to go off at runway 11. Now, of course, today we're going to be talking about Brazil and its history, but I'm going to take my time with this one. So if you're wondering why I won't be talking much about Brazilian history as much, because, well, we're going to be in Brazil for about a couple days in Brazil. We're going to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6 days into Brazil. So we're going to be, I'm going to try to take my time with some of the information for Brazil. So I'm going to try and take my time, okay? if you guys want to join along, if you don't have the 737, you can use the A320. You can take the business jets with this flight, like the CJ4, the Longitude, Phenom. You can take those with us too. Rotate, and we're off.
Positive rate of climb.
Yeah, we're already blasted off. Oh my goodness, we got ready from start to staff with the party person to see you. Hey, it's great, good to see you. The server? Southeast Asia is the server, Greg. Southeast Asia. Good to see you. Start to staff, I hope you had a great rest of your stream, my dude. Definitely check out his channel. Start to staff is a close friend of mine in the flight sim community. He's a close friend. So definitely check out Sergeant Staff's channel. We're currently in the 737-800 cargo. We're going to be doing day 19 of the trip. We're heading our way to the South America's largest country of Brazil. So that's where we're going to go today. We're going to learn a little bit about Brazil today because we're going to be here for more than a few days in the country. Because we're going to do one stream next Friday on the Amazon River. And the other ones we're going to be doing a lot of airliner flying to Brazil's capital in Rio de Janeiro. So we'll be here for a couple days. So we have the Real Dog House G. Hello, hello. Good to see you, my dude. I hope you're doing well. Sergeant Staff says, hate to drop and run. No worries, my dude. I completely understand. You're a busy man. I understand. We have Complete Freedom. Good to see you. Complete Freedom. Nice to have you here, too. We're currently heading our way over to Brazil. If you guys want to check him out, he's actually been a streamer and content creator, doing lots of flights and stuff. Fun fact, he's also a real-world pilot. So check out Complete Freedom as well. Good guy, great to see you as well. Yeah, we're doing just flying the 737 cargo. We're heading our way over to Brazil from Suriname, which we visited on Friday from Guyana. We went down the Guyana and Suriname's coast. So we're gonna head down to Brazil for a bit. This flight will take about 1 hour and 14 minutes, and we're gonna climb our way up to 37,000 feet for this. We've got some pretty exciting stuff coming here as well. Yeah, it's great to see you too, Complete Freedom. So if you guys want to know what I am, who I am, I'm Viperstrike 95. I've been streaming here since 2021. I did all sorts of series back on Twitch. I did a baseball series. My first ever series was about Major League Baseball. But I've done all sorts of flights. I've done historical recreations, including most recently the 2017 Brooklyn DC-3 around the world trip, which I completed for most of last year with a 77-year-old DC-3. I also have done plenty of journeys like Route 66, the Orient Express, Japan, the Philippines. I've done plenty of stuff on my channel, but this one is my most ambitious series. And it's going to probably take over a year to get this done, but we're going to visit every single sovereign nation, and it's going to be a mix of both general aviation and the airline. Since some legs are not even possible without the airline, or else they would take forever. And I don't want things to take forever. But great to see you too. And we have Planet Neutral, my great friend. Planet Neutral, I hope you're doing great, my dude. If you guys haven't checked out Planet Neutral, he's an awesome dude. Love his streams. He's done the river runs, and he just does a lot of great GA stuff. We also have Sleazy Does Again, another good friend as well. Good to see you, my dude. I appreciate having you guys here as always. It's nice to have some company. So, definitely some big news. We have some of the exhibitors for Flight Sim Expo 2024. That was just revealed on Friday. Should be some really nice news about FS Expo. But there is been some Microsoft news I want to cover. The latest Sim Update 15 beta has just released V2 of the Indie Builds A320 has been reintroduced. So they actually reintroduced the Indie Builds A320, which should be really nice for all the pilots who like flying the A320, but they can't fly the Phoenix because they're on Xbox. This is definitely and they can't get fly-by-wire either. This is still very nice to have. So it's actually very good news that actually Indie Builds get their A320. So should be very, very nice update for all of you Airbus guys. I think that'd be. There's also a new scenery for Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, which is an airport I visited in real life as well, by Fieldfair, which should definitely be a pretty big improvement over the one released by Skyline Simulations. It should be a pretty big improvement. Located nestled in the heart of Kentucky in Covington, it's a gateway to the Cincinnati area across Ohio, Indiana, and beyond. And it's been a major hub facility in over 50 destinations across North America and Europe, as well as a crucial node for domestic and international cargo flights. Their edition features over 40 highly detailed building models, including PBR texturing, realistic decals, taxi line services, and more to make it immersive. And they also introduced several improvements around the airport, like parking spots, taxi signs, lighting, and more. And you can get this for under $20 US on SimMarket, which should definitely be nice. And like I said, it's definitely looks like to be a pretty big improvement over Skyline Simulation. So if you're doing tons of flying around the Cincinnati area, what I can't co is this for the new scenery. That scenery is Covington's Kilo Sierra Victor Golf. Am I coming to Expo? Sadly, I can't make it to Expo this year, sadly. It's really expensive for flights it's not very cheap to stay between Louisville and Vegas, and it just, in our family, just figured out it wasn't really worth the cost. If it was held not in Vegas, but if it was held like in Louisville or Indianapolis or Cincinnati, I don't think it would be as much of a problem, since my family can drive me over to those locations. But or even Nashville wouldn't be an issue either. But for Vegas, I mean, it's not cheap, and that's probably why I'm not going to go to Expo. Oh, nice! You fly from Louisville to Vegas, originally from San Diego. Cool. Yeah, I've been to Las Vegas Airport. It's just between the flights and how much hotel costs would be, it just wouldn't really be worth it. Sadly, I would love to go to Expo. Well, at least the good news is this. I might do a virtual flight from Louisville to Vegas at some point, but it's just fair. It is. That's why I'm hoping next year. I hope it comes. I hope if it doesn't come to, if it does come from Louisville, I wouldn't mind it being held like in Cincinnati because technically you can do international flights out of Cincy. Um, into here, Cincinnati would be pretty cool. Not be too far. Yeah. Oh, so that's gonna be the big. Oh, what IKEA is this? It's Cincinnati, Covington. Also, there's also apparently some other really cool stuff that so basically I think I came up with next week's schedule for my streams. So next week, on Wednesday, I'm actually thinking about doing something I never really took before, actually. And I'm gonna actually fly something a little different than you guys were expecting. And in fact, this one's actually gonna be a unique airline stream for our Sunday stuff. We're actually gonna take the Douglas DC-3 for this one. What? Yes, we're gonna fly a Douglas DC-3. Um, and we're gonna fly the Douglas DC-3 all the way from Cork to Donegal. I mean, I just think that would be a really nice flight. Or the other alternative would be from Louisville to Pittsburgh in the DC-3. I mean, how cool would that be to fly with the Douglas DC-3 doing some IFR flying? I mean, that would be really cool. I don't really get enough opportunities with the Douglas DC-3 nowadays. So I would be kind of excited for it too. So, I'm going to briefly talk about today about Brazil's history and stuff, and I want to go over a brief overlook of Brazil. Um, so, Brazil is one of the real gems. It's definitely the most iconic nation in South America. It's the largest and easternmost country in South America and in Latin America. In fact, it's the world's fifth largest country by area and the world's seventh most populous nation with over 240 million people. It's over 200 million people live in Brazil. Its capital is actually Brasilia, and its most populous city is actually Sao Paulo. The federation is composed of a union of 26 states in the federal district. It's the only country in the Americas to actually have Portuguese as an official language. Every other nation in America has either got Spanish or English in the case, or English. Um, in French is technically in French is technically some of the Caribbean islands, Haiti, and Canada. So yeah, Portuguese is the only official language here in Brazil. It's also a very multicultural and ethnically diverse nation. It's among the most due to its century of mass immigration from around the world. Now, Brazil's history is quite an interesting one. It's also a very biodiverse nation, some of the most biodiverse countries in the world. And currently, right now, Brazil is a regional and middle power, but it is an emerging power and a major non-NATO ally of the U.S. It's currently a developing country with high human development index, an advanced emerging economy with the ninth largest GDP in the world by nominal, and eighth in PPP measures, which is the largest in Latin America. It's also one of the world's major breadbasket and the world's largest producer of coffee over the past 150 years. However, it still has issues with crime, corruption, and social inequality, but Brazil is a growing power on the global stage. So Brazil definitely is a fascinating nation, definitely a really, really interesting place to learn about. So right now we're actually not flying over Brazil. This area over to our left, we're actually flying over the part of the world known as French Guiana. Um, yes, it's the only piece of France um, that's actually in South America. It's one of the overseas regions of France. And a little bit about this, it's actually the second largest region in all of France. Um, in the largest outermost region within the EU, it's got a very low population density with only 3.6 inhabitants per square kilometer. Its capital is Cayenne, and 98.9% of the territory is covered by forest. And it features the largest national park in the EU, the Guiana Amazonian Park. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. This is French Guiana. It's very forested. It's got lots of biodiversity and many ecosystems, include thousands of plants and animal species found all over the area. Let's Yeah, we're right in the Guyana Amazonian Park. Pretty big. It's a huge national park. This national park, the one we're flying over, is actually also the France's largest park. It covers some 20,000 square kilometers of the central area and 13,000 of secondary areas. So the total area is pretty intense, and it's full of all sorts of animal species. Beyond red hauler, the red capitan are some of the major primates. It's also got various possum species, and many cats and canine species are found here, like the ocelot, margaret, jaguarundi, and bush dogs. You can find you can also find the many anteater species, including the giant anteater, as well as various bat species too. Over 100 different bat species lives here as well. Pretty cool stuff. Don't worry about these national parks. Hey, you said you're going up to 30,000 feet. I'm right above you. Oh. Oh my goodness, you are above me, Greg. I see. I see you. Oh yeah, I see you way above me. Ah, nice. You are above me. How cool is that? Um, but yeah, within our community, Murph did release his schedule this week. Since I am a major part of his community. Tomorrow he'll be doing his IFR course, part 3, about Unicom, teaching you people about IFR stuff. So he's getting that ready for flights. So, so I'm going to give you guys a history lesson about Brazilian history, actually. So let's go ahead and talk about Brazil's history. And this one's going to be a lot longer than the other history stuff we have covered on my streams, because Brazil is a place that has a lot of it, actually. So, some of the earliest human remains were found in this area dating back to 11,000 years. Some of the earliest pottery ever found in the Western Hemisphere were actually excavated in the Amazon rainforest, dated back to 8,000 years ago or 6,000 BC. And it was found near the city of Santarém, which is where we're going to actually end up our second leg. And there are multiple different cultures, including the Marjora, that flourished between AD 400 to 1400 AD, developing sophisticated pottery, social stratification, and more. At the time that the Portuguese arrived in Europe, the territory of current-day Brazil had an estimated indigenous population of 7 million people, mostly semi-nomadic, who subsisted on hunting, fishing, gathering, and migrant agriculture. And there were several major ethnic groups, including the Tupis, Guaranis, the Jess, and the Arawaks. And before the arrival of the Europeans, the boundaries between these groups and subgroups were marked by wars arose from difference in culture, language, and moral beliefs. And they involved large-scale military operations and lands and waters, sometimes with cannibalistic rituals due to their tradition. Slavery also had a different meaning for Europeans since it originated from a diverse social economic organization as well. So basically, the indigenous cultures in South America, there are multiple different kinds of cultures with their own unique language, culture, moral beliefs, and more. Now, of course, you've been wondering, what about the Europeans? So it turned out that the Europeans actually had it. And the Portuguese and the Spaniards were some of the first European nations to start colonizing the New World. Eventually, it arose between a dispute between the Spanish and Portuguese. And ultimately, on June 7th, 1494, it was the Treaty of Tordesillas was signed in that namesake Spain and ratified in Setúbal, Portugal. And they actually divided the newly discovered lands outside of Europe between Portugal and the Crown of Castile, which ended up being modern Spain. That line was about halfway between Cape Verde and the islands visited on his first voyage. So the lands to the east, actually, in that treaty, belonged to the Portuguese, and the lands west become Castile. So why was this important? Well, it turned out that the lands east, one of those lands east of the treaty, ended up actually belonging to Portugal. And guess what land had landmass east of the line? Yep, Brazil. Brazil's one of them. So that meant that Brazil was taken by the Portuguese, and that's how it ended up being that way. And the first arrival was claimed on April 22nd, 1500, with the arrival of the Portuguese fleet commanded by Pedro Alvarez Cabral. The Portuguese encountered the indigenous people divided into several ethnic societies. Most spoke languages and fought among themselves. Although the first settlement in Brazil was founded in 1532, the colonization effectively began in 1534 when King John III of Portugal divided the territory into 15 private and autonomous cantoncies. However, the decentralized tendencies proved to be problematic, and eventually in 1549, the Portuguese king restructured them into the Governor General of Brazil in Salvador, which became the capital of a single and centralized colony in South America. And if you want to know where the modern day Salvador is at, it's actually along the coast. And you can still fly into Old Coast. Today. However, during the first two, good to see you, Drunken Simon, in African colonies in Asia. That's right. Angola was one of them. Mozambique was another one of those colonies as well. Mozambique, and of course, Macau was another one of those colonies as well. I mean, the Portuguese had colonies all across the globe. People forget that, but like when they talk about colonial empires, most people think of Spain or France, the UK. A lot of people forget Portugal predated most of those. It almost nearly outlasted the British too by 2 years. But yeah, they had colonies all over the place. Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, and various trade routes all across the world. A lot of people seem to forget that sometimes. It's crazy to think. You're absolutely correct. However, throughout the first 2 centuries of colonization by the Portuguese, the indigenous and European groups lived in constant war, establishing opportunistic alliances to gain advantage of the others, and that carried on for the next 2 centuries. By the mid-16th century, they discovered that cane sugar had been Brazil's most important export, while the greatest import were actually slaves purchased in sub-Saharan Africa in the slave market of Western Africa. Not only those from Portuguese allies of their colonies in Mozambique as well, to cope with the massive sugarcane plantations. They had a lot of them. In fact, Brazil received more than 2.8 million slaves between the years 1500 to 1800. That's a lot of slaves. Which is crazy to think about how many slaves they took. And trust me, it's not a good thing at all to have that many slaves. That's By the end of the 17th century, sugarcane exports began to decline, and the discovery of gold by the Bandeirantes would be the backbone of the colony's economy, fostering a gold rush that would attract thousands of new settlers to Brazil from Portugal and all the colonies, which caused them. And this immigration caused conflicts between newcomers and old settlers, which have lasted during that time. And finally, Portuguese expeditions later took over more of the colonial borders by the Bandeiras, and they expanded the colonial frontiers to approximately its current borders. Now, other European powers did try to take Brazil as for themselves. Parts of Brazil that the Portuguese fought, like for example the French during the 1560s and 1610s, the Dutch in Baja. But ultimately, the Portuguese managed to fight them off, and that's why all of Brazil remained that way. And the Portuguese administration had two different objectives that ensured that they would maintain colonial order and monopoly of its largest and wealthiest colony, to keep under control and eradicate slave rebellion and resistance, and to repress all movements of autonomy. And this ultimately kept Brazil part of Portugal for much of its time as a colonial neighbor. Yes, that's absolutely correct, Drunken Semi. Portugal and England had the longest running alliance. That's actually very much correct. What a lot of people don't know is Portugal and England have historically had a very close relationship. And this alliance was indeed the Anglo-Portuguese alliance from 1386. It's the Luso-English alliance. It's still in force today, even during the modern times. It was established by the Treaty of Windsor in 1386. But in fact, English-Portuguese relationships went even further back than that, to 1147. But Portugal and England have always had a strong alliance. I mean, they've helped with the Portuguese during the rebel against the Iberian Union, the Anglo-Spanish War, the Peninsular War, and during the Napoleonic times, and even the First World War. And Portugal helped play the role with helping the British during World War One. But yeah, they've always had a close relationship, even to today, as part of NATO. So yeah, a lot of people don't know about that, but it's true. Super Tom, good to see you. So, however, the things started to change, however, during 1807, during the Peninsular War, as Spanish and Napoleonic forces threatened the security of continental Brazil. It caused Prince Regent John, in the name of Queen Maria I, to move the royal court over from Lisbon to the city of Rio de Janeiro, and there established some of the first financial institutions in Brazil, including the local stock exchanges, National Bank, which ended the Portuguese monopoly in Brazilian trade. Once the Peninsular War, however, ended, the courts of Europe demanded that Queen Maria and Prince Regent John to return back to Portugal, because it was deemed unfit for an ancient European monarch to reside in the colony. However, the next year, they justified living in Brazil. The crown established the United Kingdom of Portugal, Brazil, in the Algarves, creating something unique: a pluricontinental transatlantic monarch state. Like what? You're telling me that it's a monarchy state? However, leadership in Portugal, resentful of its new status of its larger colony, continued to demand the return of the court to Lisbon, which caused the Liberal Revolution of 1820. And it seemed to the demands of revolutionaries. John VI departed over to Lisbon. There he swore an oath to a new constitution, leaving his son Prince Pedro de Alcântara as the regent of the Kingdom of Brazil. And eventually, tensions between the Portuguese and Brazilians led to declare Brazil's independence from Portugal back in 1822. So there you go. Declaring their independence, and it caused a Brazilian War of Independence that occurred between that and 1829. Eventually, the last Portuguese surrendered in 1824, with Portugal officially recognizing Brazilian independence on August 29, 1825, with Brazil truly independent at long last. After several years of political turmoil and dissent, officially, including those by Republicans, Pedro I departed to Portugal to reclaim his daughter's crown and advocated the throne in favor of his 5-year-old son and heir, who ended up being the last emperor of Brazil, Dom Pedro II. Now, if you guys don't know anything about Dom Pedro II, Dom Pedro II is considered by many to be one of the most beloved monarchs. He was, in fact, even despite him being really popular with the people of Brazil, he was overthrown. But historians often regard him in a very positive light, and several have even ranked him as the greatest Brazilian to ever live. But you guys should learn more about Pedro II. He was an insanely well accomplished monarch. He helped grow, and basically he helped grow Brazil to a growing power. No joke. Like for example, during his first years, there were some rebellions and all that, but the Brazilians had to put down, including revolts in Garau and Rio Grande do Sul, which eventually ended once Pedro II was coronated. And during his time as a monarch, he was involved in winning more than a few major conflicts with Uruguay and Paraguay as well. But of course, it took a long time for slavery to be abolished due to all the interest with the acts. For example, slavery, which was abandoned in 1850, it wasn't until May 1888, due to a long internal mobilization debate, for slavery to be abolished with the Golden Law. And during the foreign affairs of Pedro II, he was successful winning 3 major international wars: the Plantain War, the Uruguayan War, and the devastating Paraguayan War, which is still the largest war effort in Brazilian history. However, despite Pedro II being such a beloved monarch and being really popular, he was overthrown in a military coup on November 15th, 1889. Because he disagreed with not only the imperial officers, but also the royal and financial elites for different reasons. And still to this day, which because some people because a lot of the rich wanted to support the republicanism in a coup d'etat. Because some people yeah. But even to this day though, Pedro II has had a huge legacy in Brazil. His legacy is absolutely massive. I think of Pedro II's legacy for Brazil similar to that of George Washington's legacy for the United States, or Abraham Lincoln's legacy would be for the United States. It's a massive legacy for Brazil. His legacy and assessments. So definitely an important guy you want to learn more about. However, during the early years, yeah, wasn't there a time the only European empire changed the capital away from Europe? I believe it was. I don't think it was. Outside of war, like for example, out of war, they changed the empire's capital, let's say from France to Algiers or something. I don't think that's new. However, during the early years of the Republican government, was a military dictatorship with the army dominating affairs in Rio de Janeiro and other states. The freedom of the press disappeared. Not until 1884, following an economic and military crisis, did civilians take power, and it remained there until October 1930. However, the Republic has had some major issues, both successes and failures, in turning from the crisis of the what's known as the Encerramento and the Navy revolts, caused a prolonged cycle of financial, political, and social instabilities until the 1920s. And that instability undermined the regime to an extent that in 1930 there was a revolution in 1930 that installed Getúlio Vargas, and he ruled like a dictator, which closed down Congress, extinguished the Constitution, and ruled with emergency powers. And despite 3 attempts, Vargas was still in power throughout the 1930s and halfway to the 40s, known as the Estado Novo era, or New State. So he led that era in Brazilian history. Let me go ahead and change this for just a second to 1690. Let's go see. Eventually, Vargas kept power, and he led to the new state era. However, during World War II, originally Brazil was to remain neutral during World War II. However, on August 1942, the Nazi German and fascist Italy had a strategic dispute over the South Atlantic, and after being sunk, the Brazilians entered World War II on the Allied side. Um, and Brazil entered the war, and they played a crucial role they played an important role during it. For despite it not being that actively involved, Brazil actually played considerably a lot of role during World War II. For one, it played a pivotal. It was part of the Battle of the Atlantic during the um during the war. However, the big part of Brazil was during the Italian theater, with the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, to fight in the Italian campaign, which is the BF. Now in Portuguese, they're known as Força Expedicionária Brasileira, and they were nicknamed the Cobras Fumantes, aka the Smoking Snakes. But this force was a very successful group. Despite being 25,000 men, they were included a full infantry division, liaison flight, and fire squad. In fact, the Vargas era Brazil was the only independent South American country to send combat troops overseas, and they were well known for their tenacity and bravery, regarded by both allies and adversaries. The Expeditionary Fighting Force, which includes battleships, destroyers for their navy, as well, and they turned out to be pretty feared in combat throughout much of the Italian theater. So pretty cool stuff. And even after the war, and as a result, and that's why pretty cool stuff. That's all a lot of people don't know about the Brazilian involvement during World War II. However, after the Allied victory, Vargas's position became unsustainable, and he was swiftly overthrown in another military coup. So afterwards, after the coup, after he got overthrown, several brief interim governments followed his suicide. However, many of them were replaced by the military dictatorships and all that. And eventually, it kept growing with more resignations until eventually in 1964, a military dictatorship was brought into power. However, during the 1980s, it started losing a lot of power and influence, and eventually Brazil returned back to democracy with, in 1985, Jose Sarney assumed presidency. He became unpopular, however, due to his failure to control economic crisis and hyperinflation, which led to the 1989 election of Fernando Collor, but he was successfully impeached in 1992. But yeah, Brazil for years had a lot of instability um, until Fernando Cardoso finally helped stabilize the country for a bit. Then, of course, in 2002, Luis Lula da Silva was elected, and he was elected actually 3 times, not 2002, 2006, and currently 2022. And he ended up being the most recent Brazilian to be elected to presidency. Jair Bolsonaro was he was elected president in 2018, and then Lula took back the presidency in 2022. So, guys, that is the history of Brazil. Yeah, 13 parts of it for Brazil's history, guys. I hope you guys got a bit of a good history lesson here as we learn about Brazil. But yeah, Brazil's history is quite an interesting one. Basically, to sum this all up, before the Europeans came around, Brazil was a home to a wealth of different indigenous groups living all across the country in various different areas between the coast, the rainforest, and more. Then, due to the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, Brazil was taken over by the Portuguese, and despite other Europeans trying to take it, it ultimately remained a Brazilian possession. Then, during the 19th century, Brazil was get independence from Portugal in 1822, and then it became a monarchy, which eventually led to the coronation and reign of 58 years by Dom Pedro II, who became a very well beloved monarch by the people. Then in 1891, he was overthrown in a coup. Then during the 20th century, during the Republican era, Brazil had a lot of instability, which eventually led to the dictatorship of Vargas throughout the 1930s and early 40s. Then after his reign, several administrations followed until another military dictatorship was brought in. But it wasn't until the 80s that the civilians finally regained power since. And most recently, it's now ruled by Lula da Silva. So, there you go, guys. I think that's just a brief overview of Brazilian history. And trust me, we're going to get into much more detail on other stuff about Brazil throughout the entire streams for sure. So, yeah. So we're currently right now descending all the way down to Sierra Bravo Mike Quebec will be our first stop of the day. We're just descending down as we're now in the state of finally in Brazil, guys. Yes, come to Brazil, baby. So we're about to make our way over to Sierra Bravo Mine, Quebec. We're just about over 100 miles out from our first stop of the day. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the history lesson about Brazil and you want to actually support the channel, if you haven't followed yet, smash that follow button and support the channel. We stream 3 days a week on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So the rest of next week's schedule will be after Wednesday's DC3 trip. We'll be doing a GA exploration of the Amazon River from Santarém to Manaus. So we'll be doing a GA exploration. Then from there, we'll be doing on Sunday next week, will be from Manaus to the capital city of Brasilia. We'll be talking more about Brazil on our way um, over there as well. And now prepare for the next flight over from Brasilia over to Rio de Janeiro. Let's take a look outside. So yeah, we're getting more into the rainforest from around this area here. We're going to be in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, for sure. Sure. Yeah, sometimes the satellite data isn't great here, and that's because, well, we're in the rainforest, and typically rainforest doesn't usually have the greatest data. But I still want to do some Amazon rainforest exploration just because uh, 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 should be a nice, relaxing trip. So we're gonna get very close to the city of Macapa. Um, Macapa is gonna be here. But yeah, there are a ton of slides. I worked on a ton of slides for Brazil for the next couple of streams. So I worked on a lot of slides yesterday for Brazil since we're going to be here for a couple days. It'll be good to work on a couple slides at a time. But no, Brazil's a huge country and it deserves a lot of time to talk about. So yeah, Brazil is definitely a place I would be very interested in checking out for sure. There's a lot of great landmarks all across the country. Brazil's got so many really cool cities. It's not just Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. The city's got tons of really cool places to visit. Like Curitiba, Florianopolis has got some pretty cool stuff around here as well. Porto Alegre. Of course, the coastal cities of Recife, Natal, Salvador, Fortaleza are really cool. There's Belém as well. That's another very interesting city to visit. Manaus, uh, Manaus would also be pretty cool. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that Brazil is more than just Rio de Janeiro. There's some amazing places. Hey, good to see you, Filthy. I hope you're doing well, my dude. We're heading our way to our first stop at Macapa today. We're making our way to Brazil on our journey, guys. The biggest country in South America and the one we're probably going to spend the most time in right now in South America. We're going to actually spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess 5.5 days in Brazil. We're gonna spend a lot of time in this country. So, definitely a great place. And of course, our virtual airline, the virtual airline Pardon Firefly Air, also has a hub in Brazil. We actually have a hub at Rio de Janeiro's uh, Galileo Antonio Jobim International. Sierra Bravo Golf Lima is actually our hub in Rio de Janeiro. It's the it's a big international airport for Rio de Janeiro. So we have a hub down there too, which is pretty nice. I wish I wish we had more routes though across some of the Brazilian cities that we need to add. There are a few we don't have, so I would check out. No, Brazil's a great country to really want to check it out. Let's go ahead and talk about the city of Macapa. Um, Macapa is a city of Brazil with a population of 512,000 people. It is the capital of the Amapa state in the North region. It's one of the 26 states. This is the second least populous state in the country. Um, it's right in the northern channel of the Amazon Delta, that near the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean, and it's located on a small plateau. The only access by road is from outside the province is from French Guiana, though there are ferries from to Belém, Brazil. The equator actually runs completely through the city is the equator. In fact, leads residents to refer to Macapa, it's actually Macapa, as the capital of the middle of the world. And it covers an area of 6,412 square kilometers as well. Macapa itself was actually founded in February 4th, 1758. Um, um, and in the city, in the fortress, there's also a fortress that took about 18 years to complete. However, due to a lot of illness with the Indian workers and escapes from the black slaves, there was a hurricane in 1811 that caused damage to the fortifications, but left the city intact. However, the city gained notoriety in December 2001 when the international yachtman Peter Blake from New Zealand was murdered while anchored on his yachts. The Seamaster in here as well. And according to Business Insider, Macapa is the 69th most violent city in the world. So it's definitely not the safest place to be. Some of the landmarks here include the Fortress of St. Joseph, which was built between 1764 and 1782 to protect the city and to control the Amazon Delta. You can see some old fortresses and all that. And it's the main side of the city. There's the Marco Zero Monument, which marks the position of the equator in the city. At the spring and autumn equinox, the sun rises and sets on the line of the equator and shines the monument along the Avenue Equatorial are the two main landmarks here of the city. And finally, the main airport is Sierra Bravo Mike, Quebec. This is Macapa International Airport. It's actually known as Macapa Alberto Alcombre International, named after the local businessman. Opened back in 1970. It had a new terminal in 2019 to replace an older facility, and it currently features destinations to Belém, Brasilia, and Oiapoque, which is which is right next to the border between French Guiana and Brazil. So that is this is the first legs information. Leg two, we'll be talking more about so leg two will cover Brazil's geography a bit. This next one's thankfully going to be a much shorter flight, only 295 nautical miles. It'll be a much shorter one. We'll talk all about that. Um, and then of course next Friday's topics for the streams will be all about the Amazon River and rainforest. That'll be the main topic for that one. Since I've been wanting to do a stream on this for quite a long time. So it's going to be an RNAV approach to runway 08 is going to be our approach. We might be able to see a little bit of a city. Yeah, I'm doing quite well. Also, this weekend, I also got a pretty big goal for our virtual airline. I just passed 1 million XP. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I got me a million XP for Firefly Air, which is pretty insane. Go ahead and make our first lane of the day. So, guys, thank you all so much for coming by. Really been enjoying all of you guys being here as well. Should be a great week of streaming. Here we go, guys. This. Yeah, that is very impressive. Like, yeah, I've been doing this. Like, I was like, that's a huge accomplishment. 1 million XP. Yep, and I know Nighthawk says I should have my own rank. Like, he said I should be commander, captain, and chief. Like, no, I think a better title would be Emperor of Mankind. Either Supreme Commander or my favorites, Emperor of Mankind. Should be my rank, but if you guys didn't know Emperor of Mankind, that's a Warcade 40 reference. I know. You might make it to. You might make it. Hmm. Go ahead and put approach mode. This should go to glide path. Yeah. But yeah, I'm very happy to reach this new goal. It's pretty insane. I'm very, very happy. I'm very proud of myself for working hard. Also, according to our airline as well, if you guys want to learn more about our virtual airline, estimation point Foxtrot Alpha FFA is our virtual airlines link, and you get to more about it. We're currently at 1.572 million. We're just a million more XP away, and I mean we got plenty of time to get a million more XP, so we can get to our next goal. Hopefully, a brand new area. Hopefully, something brand new with our airline. I'm like at 167,000 XP and leading the Sean's premiership. Sean's about 30,000, just under 30,000 XP away from catching up. Paparazzi's not too far, but I mean, yeah, I'm absolutely killing it this time around. I'm making up for not being around last time. Yeah, we're doing really, really well. Very, very happy with how things are going out. So I'm going to go ahead and set the auto brake to 3. Prepare for the landing today. So once we land, I'll get the next leg's flight plan set up. Once we stop, I'll get the next leg's flight plan set up, and we can get along with the next leg. Which thankfully the next one's going to be a much shorter leg. But I think this should be a really nice flight. Beautiful. Like I said, Brazil's a great country to visit, and this should be a fun approach. This is pretty fun landing of our beautiful Firefly Air cargo plane. Yes, if you guys don't know, I absolutely love cargo flights. Cargo. If I wanted to pick one part of aviation I want to be part of in real life, I want to be the one doing the cargo flights, because I think cargo flights are very interesting. Because you don't have to deal with crazy passengers and all the crazy people in the passenger seats. You don't have to worry about all that. It's a more peaceful mind. Plus sometimes cargo planes you get to fly to some pretty unusual destinations you never get to actually enjoy. 400. Oh, with the million XP you've been all over the place, what is your favorite place to fly? Good question. I'll probably answer once I get this thing down first. 300. Because this is gonna be a bigger deal. Okay. And 40, 30, 20, 10. Whoa! Oh God! Whoa! 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 Okay, I didn't think I'd be landing that far forward. Huh. Oh my gosh! I hope I didn't damage the aircraft. I gotta check my maintenance. Okay. Whoopsie daisy. That ended up being a lot scarier than I was expecting. That was a crazy landing. But okay, Filthy, my favorite place to actually do flying. Good question. If it's the United States, um, I think my favorite places to fly are the Western United States. Alaska and the Western United States are probably in the United States. If we're talking about South America, I think Ecuador. I think our hub in Quito is basically perfect. I love flying in and out of Quito. That's a great place to fly. In the Middle East, I actually really enjoy doing some flights out of Dubai. I think it's a great hub. I get it. Everyone picks it as a hub, but I mean, there's a good reason why. Because Dubai is just really cool. And of course, I really love flying in Japan a lot. I need to do more flying in Japan because it is so nice, and I really like our hub in Nagoya. Nagoya is super super cool to fly. But if I'm being honest, I think my favorite place is the Western United States. You got so many varieties, places to fly in that part of the United States. Definitely overall my favorite in the United States. We're gonna be stopping right here for just a little bit. We'll get the I'll get me my flight plan loaded for the next leg on SimBreak. Once I get that loaded, we'll be back in the air for leg number 2 as we head over to Santorini. So we're gonna get a new flight. Yeah, there are a lot of places in the world, and I definitely love our Zurich hub too. Like I said, we got a lot of really good hubs. And obviously I love flying around the Lake Tahoe area. It's super nice. And I'm really hoping though, someday, I hope, I really do hope. I don't use. It's not that I don't like our hub at Lake Tahoe. I actually really love it. I love the airport itself. However, I'm hoping that we eventually get a new hub in Reno. Because man, once we get the hub in Reno, I think we'll be pretty much set for. Because Reno is big enough, we could put the 777 down and the A380, and I think that would be really. Like I said, I'm hoping Reno ends up becoming eventually where our airline relocates to. Because, like I said, I like flying the Reno Tower. I do plenty of flying in and out of Reno. Super cool. It's got the right size between big enough to put the bigger airliners down and great enough GA scenery too. I've also been doing lots of flights in Texas. If you didn't recall, I did fly the Texas Triangle between Dallas, Houston, San Antonio on Wednesday. That was a lot of fun. But my favorite Texas Triangle airport is actually Austin Berkshire. And that would be so awesome for Texas. Yeah, there's so many really cool airports. So guys, let's go ahead and get back to our 737. Go ahead and put a new flight plan in charge as Sierra Bravo Mike Quebec 26 Sierra Bravo Sierra November. Seattle would be pretty cool too. Like Seattle was actually, I think, our second choice for back in 20, back when we first did Tahoe. That Seattle was our number 2 choice, and to be fair, that was actually the one I voted for was Seattle because Seattle is a very nice hub. Seattle's a nice airport. However, I think the community still made a good choice with Reno, with Lake Tahoe. I still like the Lake Tahoe choice just because that area is so pretty, though. So yeah, I'm hoping eventually we do move to Reno. Just because the thing with Seattle is while I do like flying into Seattle, it's definitely a very cool city. The problem with Seattle is for air economy when that comes up. Um it's already got more. It's got a ton of. It's got like no joke, 10 VAs call Seattle a hub, filthy, on FS hubs. So that's a lot of competition, and we already got some airports that are tons, and I mean tons of airports with VA competition for hubs. And Reno has no virtual airline traffic, and it's got some great general aviation stuff, and we don't have to change the hub now. So it will be less expensive once the uh, when we get the VA economy system going. Which, hey, I mean, the area was never the problem with Tahoe. It was just Lake Tahoe is just a bit small nowadays because we've gotten so many airliners. Like, like no joke, we have tons of bigger airliners now. This we're just getting everything set up. Yeah, Reno is super cool. But I think the hub, in my opinion, Filthy, if we had to relocate, is Kern. Uh, Kern is a huge missed opportunity for us. Like I like the idea of a GA hub, but man, once we get like FBOs and stuff, I can't wait to move out of it. And honestly, I think for us, I think Austin Bergstrom would be awesome replacement for it. Since Texas really needs a hub. Texas needs to be we need some VA presence in Texas, and I thought Austin's perfect. It's big, it can handle the bigger airliners, but yet still be good enough for GA. And unlike some of the Texas airports, it actually has really good payware. It has two great payware options. And best yet, despite being Texas' third busiest airport in real life, has no VA competitors. So we get the hub all to ourselves. And it's Texas. Y'all. Yeehaw. Guys, go ahead and get this going. Yeah, Seattle would be pretty cool. I think for me, I think if I were to pick the VA, I would probably say relocate Kern to Austin so we get a hub in down Texas. And because think about it, if we have an hub in Austin, not only can we do flights to Texas for general aviation, we could do GA flights to San Antonio, the Houston metropolitan area, Waco, College Station. But for the airliners, we could fly to DFW, Dallas Love, both major Houston airports. We could fly to Lubbock, El Paso, Amarillo. But also um we could also do short haul flights to Oklahoma City, New Orleans, Little Rock, Jackson, even Memphis. We could do some short haul stuff. And even some Mexico destinations like Monterrey, uh, Torreon, Chihuahua, Ciudad Juarez, and Tampico would be like some of our Mexican destinations for short haul. But really, this airport really shines once you get into the medium haul stuff because Austin can fly to so many places with medium haul. Like you can fly to most major areas for both medium and short haul distance. Western cities like Denver, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Chicago, Minneapolis, Louisville, Nashville, Miami, Orlando, and also other international destinations in Mexico. You can find most of the major Mexico destinations: Mexico City, Guadalajara, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, and San Jose del Cabo are medium haul. And of course, long haul. For long haul, we can do all sorts of routes for long haul stuff. And of course, for long haul, we can fly to LA, San Francisco, Seattle. Pittsburgh, our hub of Pittsburgh, JFK, Boston, some Caribbean destinations, and most of Latin America destinations too. Plus, some Canadian cities like Toronto and Vancouver. And in my document, I also did a long haul to Dublin. So,
Rotate. Positive rate of climb.
yeah, I really like Austin. I think it'd be a superb. And of course, in that document I worked on as well, I also added a few missions. Not only like the standard ones once aircom and get missions set up, I worked on a few pretty cool ones. There's one for the Texas Longhorns because University of Texas is a big deal, and there's also the South by Southwest charter stuff for festival because Austin's famous for that festival as well, and some rodeo transport for cattle and horses for the rodeo events, Texas. Just thought it'd be pretty good. Yeah. We'll be climbing up to 24,000 feet. This flight will take about an hour flight. Okay. So once we climb up to 24,000 feet, we'll begin our next lecture about Brazil's geography. So we'll be talking about that once we climb up to 20. But yeah. But overall, for someone who's been around Alien XP, I think I really enjoy our hubs. I really like to keep most. But yeah, I really do appreciate you guys tuning in today. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's stream. Great way to wrap up the weekend, being here with you guys. It's a big deal for me to be here. Oh yeah, and next week we also got the sim update coming up on Tuesday, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, things go very smoothly for me when getting this update up, this whole thing updated. Should be hopefully be a smooth update. Yeah. I'm hoping we get more news about FS Hub because that is the one thing I've been waiting on the most. Once we have the news for FS Hub, I think we can move on to the next stage for Fireflyer, and that's about it. Woohoo! Out of the rain clouds, and now, but yeah, I've been flying the crap out of this 737. Once we got the BA livery for the 800, I've been flying the 800 nonstop because that was the one airplane I was waiting for a BA to have is the 800. Everyone knows the 800 is the popular version of the plane. Took a ton of hours now. So we're gonna climb up to there. So 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 let's go ahead and talk about Brazil's geography. Brazil's geography is definitely pretty cool. Brazil occupies a large area in the eastern coast of South America, and it's bordered by most of South America. In the south, you have Uruguay. To the southwest, you have Uruguay to the south, Argentina and Paraguay to the southwest, Bolivia and Peru to the west, Colombia to the northwest, and Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and France to the north. So the only countries that don't border Brazil are Ecuador and Chile, because Ecuador is blocked over by Peru and Colombia, and Chile by Argentina. That's it. It borders every country but those two. Brazil also occupies a large number of oceanic archipelagos as well, including the archipelago of Fernando de Noronha, as well as several islands in the Atlantic. And in the coastline of Brazil, it actually extends over 4,000 miles of Brazilian coastline as well. So it's a huge coastline. And there are 6 main different ecosystems: the Amazon basin, the Pantanal bordering Paraguay and Bolivia, Tropical wetlands, the Cerrado, a savanna system, the Caatinga, Dory scrubland, the Atlantic forest that extends around the entire coast northeast to south, and the Pampas in the far south, which is the lowlands. Its size, relief, climate, and natural resources make Brazil geographically diverse, including many of its islands as well. And everyone knows Brazil is the world's 5th largest country, with a total area of 8,515,767 square kilometers. In fact, if you were to stretch it north to south, Brazil's also the world's longest country. Yep, it's the world's longest, spanning over 2,700 nautical miles north to south, and is the only country that in the world that has the equator and the Tropic of Capricorn running through it. And basically, if you guys don't know what the Tropic of Capricorn is, it basically, if the equator is a circle, which is a circle of latitude that divides into a sphere, the Tropic of Capricorn is a circle latitude that contains a subsolar point in December solstice. So it also has that. It also spans 4 time zones, starting from Acre. Then you go to the Western states, then UTC-3 in Eastern states, which is the national time, and then number 2 in the Atlantic Islands. So it goes through 4 different time zones of Brazil. So pretty cool stuff. In terms of its climate, Brazil's climate comprises of a wide variety of different weather conditions across this area. Being Brazil's a massively big country, there's quite a few different climate subtypes in the country: desert, equatorial, tropical, semi-arid, oceanic, and subtropical. So, for example, looking at the map, I'm looking at this map on here. On the very north of the country is a complete rainforest. Is the dark blue is the rainforest parts, so you see on top of the map, but also to the coast. Right around Salvador is all rainforest. Then, of course, you have the light blue. You have the blue below it. Then you have the most of Brazil is savanna. Savanna is the really light blue. That's savanna. That covers most of the country. Is a savanna climate. And of course, then you have then of course that orange area here is hot semi-arid, and that's mainly around the northeast area of the country is hot semi-arid. Then of course you have the blue, the area around the south, that is subtropical. Some of its oceanic subtropical area is down to the south. So that's basically the climate. Super Typhon says, in fact, yeah, France's largest. Yeah, that is true. France's largest land border is Brazil. That's actually true. I kid you not, that's actually true. Yeah, that's actually pretty insane to think France's longest land border is Brazil, not Europe. Now, if it was stuck in Europe, its longest land border would have been probably Germany. Probably Germany because you have all that. Yeah, it's long as or even Belgium for that matter. Yeah, it's pretty crazy thing Brazil is indeed the largest land border. Oh yeah, oh that's nice, Filthy. Yes, Brazil's got some great beaches all over the country. Brazil's, and I'll talk more about Brazil on my streams, but Brazil is a fascinating place to learn more. For more about Brazil's climate, these different climate conditions produce environments that allow for great biodiversity. There's no real dry season, though some variations of rain. As a result, the climate can kind of vary a bit depending on which area of Brazil you go. But areas of Brazil, most of Brazil has moderate rainfall between 1,000 and 1,500 millimeters of rain per year, or 39 to 59 inches. However, the Amazon region in northern Brazil is notoriously humid, with rain that goes around 79 inches per year. In some parts, up to 118 inches, or 3,000 millimeters of rain. And they can get some rain. Also, rarely you can get snow in Brazil, though it mainly occurs in the mountains of the Rio Grande do Sul, is where you can get some rare snow. And the greatest amount of snow ever occurred was in the town of Vacaria, where more than 2 meters of snow accumulated on the ground on August 7th. It is possible in other states like Sao Paulo and Rio to get snow, but it's very rare. So, definitely some pretty cool stuff. In terms of topography and stuff, Brazil is also very diverse topography. For topography, it's also in a similar boat to its climate is topography. It includes hills, mountains, plains, highlands, scrublands, and more. Much of the terrain is between 660 to 2,600 feet in elevation, and the main upland area, is in the southern half of the country. Which is in the southeast, which is around Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. Around that area is much more mountainous. So if you ever did any flying around this area, you would know that there's quite a bit of uplands around the area, which should make it pretty exciting for some general aviation stuff. In fact, some mountain ranges can even reach up to 3,900 feet, and they include the ranges of the Mantiqueira and Esbanjaco Mountains in the Serra do Mar. Hey, we got another raid, Dryson. Oh my gosh, another raid. Dryson, great to see you, my dude. Thank you so much for coming along. Dryson and viewers, welcome on in. This is Viperstrike 95. We're doing the all countries around the world trip. We're going to Brazil today. We're going to go into Santarém today for day 19 of our journey. We're entering the largest country in South America today. We'll be spending a couple streams in Brazil, including a GA trip through the Amazon rainforest on next Friday. Will be a GA expedition into the Amazon. I mean, how cool would that be, guys? We get to actually explore the Amazon rainforest. But yeah, we'll be going through couples of streams, including also going through Brasilia, Rio de Janeiro, and then a GA flight over to Curitiba. But yeah, we're going to be doing some fun stuff in Brazil. I think. Great to see you, my dude. I hope you had a great stream. How's the trip going? How many countries have you been to? Oh boy. Let's see. I need to figure out my list. So let's see. I believe there's around 206 sovereign countries. So there's 205 states listed as sovereign, based on the UN system. So there's 205, and I've already visited the Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Barbados. Let me start again. Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, St. Kitts, Antigua. We have Dominica, St. Lucia, Barbados, that's 10, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname. So 15 already completed. I have 190 countries left, and now we're on the next country, Brazil. So 190 still left to go, my dude. So yeah, okay, the fun fact, the summit of Pico de Nibilia, which is Brazil's tallest mountain, which is around 9,800 feet. You can see the front sections of the Dia de Pé and Cerro Marahuaca. Nice. Um, yeah, Brazil's got some pretty cool stuff about Brazil. Yeah, we still got a long way to go, my dude. We still gotta get through um after Brazil. The next one is gonna be Paraguay. And I'm planning on doing a GA thing to we'll get through Iguazu Falls. So we'll get to check out through the iconic Iguazu Falls in Brazil. And then we'll do afterwards a brief flyover to the capital, Paraguay, Asuncion. Um, we'll be doing that one next. We'll be turning around that area as well. Then after that, we'll probably make our way into Uruguay, which will be a lot of fun, and then go all the way through Buenos Aires before probably doing a long haul flight into Ushala, because I want to make it to the bottom of the world. Because I have a really cool stream plan for that one, which is we're going to go through in fighter jets, explore Patagonia in fighter jets. That's going to be an absolute blast. I cannot wait to do that. That would be something. That would be exciting. Oh yeah, definitely, Filthy. Of course, you're more than welcome to share it in my Discord. Definitely share it with the Discord. I would be more than happy to see your pics, your pictures. I would like to see them. Oh yeah, if you guys want to check out my Discord, here you go, guys. Check it out, my Discord, right over here. But yeah, earlier today, Dryzen, we were talking about the history of Brazil. We were talking about that earlier. Brazil's history is is really interesting in the fact that the whole reason the Portuguese got to Brazil was because of the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494. And Brazil's history has always been very interesting. A lot of slaves during the slave trade was actually transported to Brazil. You wouldn't believe this, but here's the fun fact about Brazil, fun facts about slavery. Of the 12 million people that actually went to slaves for the transatlantic slave trade for the Europeans, almost 6 million, almost half of all the slave from the transatlantic slave trade actually went to Brazil. To put that in perspective, the slaves trade that went to North America, which included the United States, was only around 380,000 people. So basically what I'm trying to say is way more of the slave trade went to Brazil. So that's a kind of a morbid fact that more than half of those slaves went to Brazil. It's kind of morbid. But oh my goodness, Filthy, this is beautiful, my dude. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's really beautiful. That's awesome. So let's go back to our topic, which is geography. Um, before Dryzen came in with the course. But yeah, in the topographical map, you can definitely see the southern half of the country much more mountainous compared to the north. Though there is still some plateaus up in the northern half by the Amazon, but that's still not as much as this. And of course, the highest point is Pico di Neblina, which is actually in the northern part of Brazil. And that's a whopping almost 10,000 feet. But in addition to this as well, Brazil also has a ton of dense, complex system of rivers. Some of the world's most extensive river complexes, including the world's second longest river and most famous river, the Amazon, which we will be exploring throughout our journey, but also the Parana and the Iguazu rivers down near the southern part of Brazil, near Argentina, which includes the Iguazu Falls, the Rio Negro rivers, the São Francisco, and the Xingu rivers are some of the famous rivers on this side of Brazil. Yes, the Pico de Neblina does border Venezuela. Yes, it does. So, guys, if you look to our left, we can actually see the Amazon River, which is one of the rivers we talked about today. We will be going over the Amazon next Friday on our GA exploration. We'll talk all about the Amazon River, of course. We'll be doing a brief flyover of the river, but I really want to talk about it since it's such an important area, and I want to talk all about the rainforest. What kind of animals live in the rainforest? What kind of ones live in the river, the rainforest? As well as talk about the history of how people interacted with the Amazon rainforest stuff. But I think this is still very important because, like I said, my streams are all about learning more about the world as we fly. I want to teach you guys about this too. And be disingenuous to not talk about it. But of course, thanks to all the different stuff that make Brazil unique, it is Brazil's wildlife. No joke, Brazil is home to 60% of the Amazon rainforest, which that itself accounts for 1/10 of all species in the world come from the Amazon rainforest, and it's considered to have the greatest biodiversity of any country in the planet. Contain over 70% of all animal and plant species ever cataloged on the globe, including over 55,000 species of plants, 3,000 species of freshwater fish, and almost 700 species of mammals. It's also ranked third of the most bird species with over 1,800 different bird species and over 744 reptile species, which is second most. And is second only to Indonesia in terms of endemic species. And like I said, it's thanks to all the different stuff. But there's a lot of different plants and animal species living here. The picture of the on the slide is the Toko toucan, a large species of toucan, and everyone knows about their famous beaks. But there's tons of animals that live in Brazil, not including carnivores like the puma and jaguar, herbivores like peccaries, tapirs, sloths, and armadillos. There's deer, New World monkeys, much more. However, the big risk facing Brazil's biodiversity has been deforestation and poaching are two really big issues. Even more so during the Atlantic forest side, where nearly 93% of the forest had been cleared due to logging, habitat destruction, and more. So that is definitely a pretty big danger to Brazil's natural heritage, and that biodiversity stuff is actually very important. Some people don't think it is, but it actually is very important. Keep an eye on its biodiversity. So we're about to reach top of descent here. Here on our way to Santarém Airport, which will be our final stop of the day. Let's take a look outside, but yeah. I wanted to take some pictures for you guys. Yeah, you can see all this is the rainforest of the Amazon. Yeah, definitely very, very cool. It's crazy though. But should make a pretty nice landing into our final stop. So we're getting very close to our final stop at Santarém. We're just about 80 nautical miles from our final stop here in Brazil. What a great stream, guys. I wasn't expecting to get 2 raids today, but thank you guys so much for coming on in. Turnout today has been awesome today. Really thankful. Should be a really cool landing. So let's go ahead and talk about Santarém. Should be our final stop for today. This is Santarém Para. Do not confuse it for Santarém in Portugal. But this town and municipality is located in the state of Para in Brazil, located at the confluence of the Tapajós and Amazon rivers, and it's been a popular tourist destination, as well as being the second most important city in the state and the financial center of the western part of the state of Para. Though it's not the biggest city in that title would actually belong to the city of Berlin, um, which is located east of it. Mhm. But this city is pretty cool though for being one of the oldest cities in the Brazilian Amazon. It was once home to the Tapajós Indians, a tribe of Native Americans the river was named after, and they were a leader of a large chieftain before the Europeans arrived. It was founded in 1661 by Portuguese colonialists as new as it was discovered by priest Felipe Benedenoff Santarém. It is one of the oldest cities in the Brazilian Amazon and is the seat of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Santarém. Um, because of its crystalline waters over the top of its rivers, it has over 62 miles of natural beaches, such as those of the village of Alto de Chao, known as the Caribbean in Brazil, as one of the most beautiful beaches in Brazil, and they ranked it the most beautiful beach in Brazil by the Guardian. It's also important to be the home of the Sire, one of the most important folklore festivals of the region, held every September. It's definitely a really cool city. It's got some beautiful beaches and stuff as well. Definitely a really nice place to visit. But yeah, super cool city and definitely great place for a lot of tourists like to visit. And of course, the airport we'll be flying to today is Santarém Maestro Wilson Fonseca Airport, Sierra Bravo Sierra November. It serves the city. It was named after the composer Wilson Dias de Fonseca, who was born here. He was a very well-known Brazilian composer who was born in the region. It's currently the fifth busiest airport in the northern region in Brazil, located between Manaus and Belém, being an alternative for international flights. Opened back in March 31st, 1977. Administered by the Brazilian Air Force until it was transferred to Infraero in the 1980s. It currently has one runway, 7,800 feet, and some of its destinations include Belém, Manaus, Belo Horizonte, Brasilia, Monte Alegre, and more. So it's got more than a few destinations as well. In 2023, served 404,000 people in 2020. So yeah, that's basically just about it for um that's basically it for the airport. And I think that's the slides for today. I'll create more slides for next Friday. I've got every other part of it done, so that'll be for Sunday afterwards. We'll finish up the rest of the slides, which will contain the rest of the content, which we can include Brazil's economy, transportation, tourism, energy, and especially its culture. Everyone knows Brazil's culture. If you guys don't know about Brazil's rich culture, I don't know what's wrong with you, because Brazil is a cultural powerhouse in Latin America. I think you guys should probably know more about that. So, guys, I hope you appreciate the history lesson and all this lessons I've been trying to let you guys learn more about. So, but yeah, we're going to Brazil. I'm very happy to be there. Yeah, we got some bit of cloud cover right now. But hopefully when we get down lower, we can check out and see the city. I really do like flying in this part of. So, um, there we go. So we're gonna make the final lane for today. We'll just turn left. I had to put a transition there, so that way it'll be much easier to transition into the lane. But guys, it's been a lot of fun. I can't wait for next Friday to explore the Amazon rainforest. That would be. Go ahead and. This one is 1,700 feet. This should be a more reasonable parking. Be more reasonable. Yeah, guys, I want to ask you guys in the chat. I hope you guys had any great plans for the weekend. I hope you had a great weekend, and if you had something fun to tell me, like some really cool places you guys have flown over this past weekend and all that. I had some great flying. let's go ahead and get the landing. So, got my little headset display. So, nice. Play runway. Nicely done. Negative 193. That's a great landing. Aubrey. Whew. Flight directors. And we just park. Hello, guys. Welcome to Santa Rim. So, beautiful landing. Very proud of it. It went much more smooth. And park right here. Well, guys, that is it, everyone. We just landed at Santarem Airport. And that's going to conclude day 19 of the journey, guys. Can't believe we're almost at 20 days of this journey. And now we're in Brazil. We finally made our way into Brazil. Guys, thank you all so much. I hope you're all having a great rest of the day. We're going to prepare for the raid. So we'll be seeing you guys on Wednesday in the DC3. I'll let you guys know what we're actually doing. I don't know what I'm thinking about, so I'm gonna go ahead and plan. So guys, thank you all so much, and we're gonna go ahead and prepare for the raid. Take care, everyone, and have a fantastic rest of the day. And thank you again for the raids, Dryzen and Sergeant Staff. Thank you guys so much for that. As always. Bye.